Hello everybody, this is thejonnymar and welcome to Final Fantasy II. So you like Final Fantasy II. You played the main game and you enjoyed it. And now you're at a point with the Emperor finally defeated that you're like, well, is there anything left to do? Is there something else I can do? And the answer is, if you are playing the GBA, PSP, or the Android/iOS versions, yes, there is something else you can do, and that is called the Soul of Rebirth. So this is an extra dungeon that was added to the specialty versions of the game. What you need to do is load up one of your clear save files in order to access it. But I want to warn you, the Soul of Rebirth dungeon is no joke. This is really, really difficult. The main game is a cakewalk compared to this dungeon. And I'm being serious here. We're talking massively dangerous enemies. We're talking death at every corner. And we're talking huge amounts of grinding. So if you do not have the patience, if you do not have the motivation to see this through, you are going to get bored and or frustrated with this dungeon. And I myself find myself feeling that way on regular occasion with this dungeon. So be aware of that before we get started. I will try to guide you through. I will try to give you some tips on how to survive the best you can. But this is not easy, and I don't think it's supposed to be easy. So we're starting off here with Minwu, and he encounters Gordon, maybe? Although it doesn't look exactly like Gordon. And he's being attacked by some enemies. So of course we would expect Minwu is going to jump in there and try to help. So who is this mysterious person, besides Minwu, who is dead? Well, it is a question mark person. So you'll notice Minwu has nothing, and that is because we unequipped Minwu in the main game. So what we're going to do is protect him. And then our secondary character, fortunately, he does have some equipment on. He has mithril stuff. So we're going to use him, even though he has some awesome magic, we're going to use him to attack. You need to be very careful in this battle. It is very easy to die. Your goal is to get Protect up as quickly as possible. And you don't want to use multi-targeted Protect. You want to use single-targeted Protect. So since Minwu is the weakest of the two, use him first. Put Protect on him, then put it on your ally. And not only do you want Protect on both of your allies, you also want the spell Blink. And this, of course, makes you have higher evasion, so you're able to avoid physical attacks easier. And once you have both of those spells up, you do now stand a pretty good chance of surviving. But again, don't chance it. Keep your HP up. Make sure that you're ready to go here. So once your two party members are protected, focus on one enemy at a time. And I like to take out the sergeants first because they have a little bit less HP. So they have around, I want to say 400 to maybe 500 HP, whereas the Black Knight has around maybe 700 HP, maybe 750 HP. And because Minwu doesn't have any weapon equipped, he is not going to do much in terms of damage. So what I'm going to do is practice teleport a little bit, because like in the main game, teleport is going to be your friend when it comes to random encounters later in this dungeon. Now it's not going to work here, most likely. So again, we're going to take out this other guy with physical attacks. We'll practice teleport a little bit, see if we can get it up to level 2 in this battle. And then we'll just attack and heal as needed. And that is basically what you do. That's the strategy. Grind it out. Kill stuff. Do what you gotta do to survive. Especially at this point where you only have 2 party members. You are gonna get more. We will get a full party of 4 people eventually. But for now, it is the most dangerous part of this dungeon at the beginning, initially. So we've killed 2 sergeants, now we just have the Black Knight to go. So just continue to wail away on him. Let Minwu flail away at him. Even though it's ineffective, because that'll build up his unarmed. And that's fine. We'll kill him eventually. So some people have asked why I unequipped my party members, because the ones that died during the main storyline, they actually carry over to this dungeon, and they keep whatever equipment that they have. And the answer is that for the most part, except for one party member, the last one we're going to get, the point at which they died in the storyline, their equipment is basically useless. It's negligible. And so that equipment is really not going to help you too much in this dungeon anyway. You can survive just as easily without the equipment, and in general, the equipment for our main party and also the money that it got us was worth more to me at that point than it is in the Soul of Rebirth dungeon. So that's why I did it. It also increases the challenge a little bit at the beginning here, and that's fun too. I like it being a little bit more challenging, even though this is a very challenging dungeon in general. So we find out this guy is actually Scott, Gordon's brother. Maybe they're twins, or I don't know, they just look very similar to each other. And they're going to talk about what they were doing before, you know, they ended up here. And essentially, they are both dead. So Minwu has to basically recount what was going on in the world at the time that he died. And that's the main kind of idea with this dungeon, is that everything is supposed to be dead. We're in kind of this space, this void, maybe the Jade Passage, maybe some sort of temporal void in between life and death. And so we're not sure why we're here, because they died, so they should have gone to the afterlife, right? But they didn't. They went here instead. And so our goal then for this dungeon is to figure out, why are we here? So they're going to talk, they're going to wax poetic about why it is that they died, what was going on, and the common connection between all of them, which was that they were with our party. It was really bad luck to be with our party of Furion, Maria, and Guy, because everyone that was with us seemed to end up dead, except Leon. So in general for this dungeon, you want to try to get through this first part as quickly as possible. And as I mentioned, you want to do whatever you have to do to survive. So you want to make sure that you are doing the random encounters, save after each of them. And I'm serious with that, because things can go well and then immediately turn around. You can get a incredibly difficult mob of enemies that will just kill you instantly. And then you have to replay up to your save point. So one thing you can do to survive here is keep your MP under control and make sure that it is always at a good point. Now the game is nice enough to start you with some Ethers and also some Phoenix Downs, because it does anticipate that you're going to die. And you will, most likely. It's not uncommon for some of your party members to die in battle. Luckily, both of your starters have the life spell and also cure spells. So one way to ensure that Minwu actually survives in the upcoming battles while we look for some more party members is to put him in the back row. And so this will protect him from physical attacks, and it'll also make sure that enemies focus on Gordon instead. Or Gordon's brother, Scott I should say. So like the first battle, your main strategy in each of the random encounters is to protect Scott, put up Protect, put up Blink, and then use him to wail away on enemies with physical attacks. Now, most of the enemies will use physical attacks only, and they will do around 100 to 200 damage. But what's nasty about them is that they will oftentimes paralyze you. Many of them use paralysis as a secondary ability to their physical attacks. So that can be really, really bad, as you might expect. But fortunately, as long as they focus on Scott, Scott has higher defense, so he's able to survive those attacks easier. So after every battle, what you need to do is heal everyone up to full, and then also make sure that you're topping off your MP, use your ethers liberally as needed. And that's it. There is an ether to the north here, but I don't think it's worth grabbing. We don't want to have to get into random encounters in order to get it. And we're going to try to get our second party member here. So here's our next party member. Not Borgin, but Joseph. So yes, Borgin is around again. We killed him twice during the main storyline, and now we have to take him on yet again. And I don't understand his pattern here, because he's like, we're zombies, we'll keep coming back, but if you kill him, he doesn't come back. So I guess only if the two of them fight each other, maybe then they'll keep coming back, I don't know. But we're gonna get Joseph in our party. Not that that is much at this point, because Joseph has nothing equipped, and he is basically useless. So, same strategy, protect Scott, put Blink on him, and instead of physical attacking, what we want to do in this battle is we actually want to use fire on Borgin, because he is weak to fire spells. So fire magic will do 500 to 600 damage to him. He has 2,500 hit points, whereas Scott's physical attacks will only do around 200 damage to him. And again, we want to try to get through this area as quickly as possible. Our goal is to actually get our last party member, because he will make things much easier. He is significantly more powerful than any of these three. So we're going to protect ourselves. Borgin is not weak to life. Even though he is a zombie, he will not get killed by the life spell. I'm not sure if he's weak to the cure spell. I've never tried it. And again, because of the difficulty, I don't feel like healing him for like 1,000 hit points. That seems not worthwhile at this point. So we're just going to keep blasting with fire till he disappears. We're getting there. We're almost there. A couple more times. And after the battle, we will move Joseph to the front row so that he's able to actually physically attack. I think he's in the back row for me because I moved him to the back row when we took on Borgin originally in the snow cavern. So wherever he was and whatever equipment he had when he died, that's what he will have at this point in your game. So now we're going to talk to each other. We're going to find out again that we all died. That's the common theme, right? And not only did we all die, but we died with that party of those 3 rapscallions. So it was not good for us to be with them, apparently. But adding Joseph to our party does allow us to have a little bit more attack power. The disadvantage of that is being with Joseph in our party, he is now susceptible to getting attacked, and because he is weaker than Scott, it's very likely he will get killed if enemies focus on him. So we're gonna, after we get done talking here, we're gonna move some of Scott's equipment to Joseph to allow him to survive a little bit better. Yes, we have an unfinished task. We do not know what that is at this point, but there's something driving us. So we only have one more party member to go. You may have an idea of who it was, the last major party member to pass away in the main game. We're going to move Joseph to the front row. We're going to let him focus on barehanded attacks. We're going to grab the Mithril Helm from Scott. And we're also going to grab the Mithril Shield from Scott, because that will increase Joseph's evasion. So yes, Joseph focuses on barehanded, and we're going to continue to do that throughout this dungeon, but we do want him to be able to survive attacks. So higher evasion is good, and also higher defense is good for now. And then we get the Thieves Gloves. Those are nice, increase agility, and also defense. So we'll put those on Joseph and continue onward. Now, I'm not really going to be showing random encounters for the most part, at least during this part of the game. And that is because, basically, they take forever. And you know the basic strategies to survive. So most of the enemies are pretty much the same. They're dangerous. They are going to try to kill you. Do whatever you have to do to stay alive. Save after every battle. And keep all of your characters as topped off in HP as possible. Now I'm going to save roughly once per floor, because I'm confident I can get through at least one floor without dying, but we'll see. There are a total of, I believe, 5 or 6 floors that we have to get through, and that'll take us to our first kind of stopping point of the dungeon, which is actually a town, the central hub that we're seeking. And the benefit of the town is that, of course, it has an inn, and it also has item shops. So that'll allow us to get some equipment, some items, and also some magic. So while we're going along here, you do want to start grinding, because there is going to be, after this episode, so between this part and the next part, you're going to have to do, and the merchant is actually still back here for spells. The key tome we want is Berserk. So like the main game, we want to be building that up as high as possible. And we're going to teach that to Scott. Scott is our black mage, Minwu is our white mage, and Joseph is just a physical attacker. And take the far left door here. Once you reach the town, and between this episode and the next, before we do the next area of this dungeon, we're going to have to do what I call the Great Grind. And that is basically you're going to have to grind experience and stats for a really long time. So you'll notice your party members are around, you know, roughly 300 to 400 HP to 700 for Scott. We need to get that up to about 1500 HP at a minimum, an absolute minimum. But more realistically, you want it closer to 2000 HP. And I'm serious, you want to get it that high, because the enemies during the second part of this dungeon are ridiculously more powerful than the ones you're facing now. The developers were really kind of sadistic, I guess, in that sense. They make it seem like it's not going to be too difficult, but then the difficulty ratchets up dramatically once you reach the town and go into the next part of the dungeon. So really, you want to spend a ton of time, I'm talking hours of grinding, between episodes, once we reach the town, to make sure that your party members are prepared for that second part of the dungeon. But here's our fourth party member, Rickard. He's back. And we do have to take on the boss that he is known for, and that is the Roundworm from Leviathan. But you'll notice that Rickard is pretty powerful. We had him much later in the quest, and we actually picked up a spear for him too. So let's unequip that from Minwu and put it on Rickard. And he's going to do a lot more damage than anyone else in our party, at least initially. As you build them up, you know, the other party members will gain effectiveness and become more powerful as well. So during the Great Grind, not only are you building up HP, so getting everyone to at least 1500, but closer to 2000 if possible, but you're also going to be working on magic. So the key spells you want to build up are Berserk, also Teleport, and then once we get to the town, you also want to purchase Mini from the magic shop and build that up as well. You want those 3 spells at a minimum to be at level 8. Higher if possible. 9 and 10 are preferable, but 8 is the minimum. And so again, that's going to take a while. Usually it takes me around 2-ish hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours, to build my party members up to the point where they can actually survive realistically during the next part of the dungeon. So if you're quick and very strategic about that, maybe you can do it quicker. That's about, in general, how long, on average, it takes for me. But we have now finished off our party. So we have all 4 of our party members. We're good to go. Now we just need to equip them, which will happen once we get to the town. And yes, they're realizing this was no accident. Being with that group of people was a terrible, terrible life decision. But ultimately it led to, hopefully, the greater good, right? It contributed to the greater good. Because they have to have some sort of purpose in mind. There has to be a reason why we're here. So there is one more gauntlet we can pick up here in this chest, and that'll be the Protect Ring, a very useful item. For now we're going to stick that on Rickard, but ultimately we're going to be exchanging that and putting that on Minwu after we get all of our other equipment. And that is about it. We only have, I think, one more floor after this to go. So again, you're almost there. We're almost to town. You made it. If you're at this point and you've survived, you're done with part 1. But that is a very, very small part of the Soul of Rebirth dungeon. So congratulations, but we have a lot more to go. So as always, viewers, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this first episode, and next time we will continue onward. So long.